Welcome to episode 8 of the MadebyJo Crafty Podcast. My name is Jo. I am a sewer, knitter and crocheter based in Fife in Scotland, and this is my knitting podcast where I share lots of updates on what I've been working on. I show things that are sewn, knitted and crocheted, so please feel free to skip over things if you don't also do those crafts. But today we have 2 sewn items and the rest is knitting, so it is a bit knit heavy at the moment. Firstly, I just wanted to apologise. It has been a whole month since I last filmed. I have had 2 really crazy weeks at work. Ideally I would have filmed last week, but I just did not have any time to do so. So we do have a little bit more progress on some of the things that I've got here because it has been that little bit longer. But I hope that you're sticking around, and I apologise again for being slightly late on this next episode. I'm going to start today the way that I always start, with what I am wearing, and this is a project that you have not seen in a while. 3 episodes ago, I believe, I spoke about in the acquisition section about this fabric that I ordered from, or picked up, sorry, at Flamingo Fabrics, which has changed its name now, but it used to be Flamingo Fabrics and they were having a closing down sale. And I said that I wanted to make this into a Carla loungewear set, which is a sewing pattern by Swim Style. Is it just Swim Style Designs? Swim Style Designs, I think, on Instagram, and I have finished it. So that is what I'm wearing today. I finished it a while ago now. Oh, sorry, Abby's just joined us. I finished it a while ago now and I've been wearing it constantly. I made one for myself and one for my sister, and we both wear them quite a lot. I find it so comfortable. I will insert a clip of me wearing it so I can just describe it instead of trying to stand up and show you. But essentially it is a elasticated sort of balloon sleeve sweatshirt that's not got any elastic at the bottom, so it's nice and loose at the bottom. My only thing is I'm not very good at necklines with sewing. I find it really difficult, and this was a really thin neckband, so I didn't quite get it perfect, but I like it enough that I wear it all the time. And next time, if I'm to make this again, I think I would try and make the neckband a bit smaller, because the boat neck is a bit too wide for me. Like you can see my straps here, and I'm just wearing a sports bra today. And I wish that you couldn't, I wish it was slightly further in. So next time, if I'm going to make this again, I would change that. And then the trousers are an elasticated waist, wide leg trouser. And I find them super comfy. I extended the length on mine to make sure that they would fit me super long, and I love them. And I shortened the length on my sister's because she is tiny, 5'4" or something, so I shortened her leg, and I think they fit us both really well. I made the drawstring version, so I didn't just make the elastic that you feed through. I made the drawstrings so I can tie them up, and I find that perfect because I can make it fit me. The size that I made, like unelasticated, is quite large around my waist, so I'm really happy to have that drawstring option to make it nice and tight for when I'm sitting around in it. So yeah, I made what I'm wearing today, although it isn't your traditional knitted jumper that you see in a lot of podcasts, but I love it. I'm really happy with it. I would recommend the pattern. It was really easy and straightforward to follow, and I think it's a really classy sort of loungewear option that I feel really posh in when I wear it, if I'm completely honest. So that is my first finished object of this podcast. My second, actually the next 2 finished objects are both knitting, and I don't think you've seen either of them. They weren't whips in my last episode, so I'm assuming that means you've not ever seen them or heard from them. But I know that last time I was talking about socks and what I wanted to make next, and I mentioned making a scrappy pair of socks. So I received a Scrappy Advent as part of the Creabea's Scrappy Advent swap last year. I did the 12 10-gram minis and I swapped with a lovely lady called Sharith who lives in London, and I was talking about it a lot last time, talking about a lot of the Advents I received last time, and I decided that I wanted to knit this up and to sort of get that almost out of stash because I wanted to use it. So I ended up making some scrappy socks. Last time I also mentioned, or if I didn't, I'm going to mention now, that I want to do the 1 pair of socks a month for 2024. So this was my January pair. Now I sort of realised that was a goal I set myself quite late on in January. I did write it down. January the 19th is when I started these. And all of a sudden went into blind panic that I had not knit them up yet, and obviously only had sort of 10-12 days left of January. So I started these on January 19th, I finished them on the final day of January, finished the second one, and I absolutely love them. So let me just show you one of them. So what I did was I took the 12 colours, this is the first one, and then this orange is the last one, sorry. And I did 6 rows of each colour, and then I repeated that twice. I worked out that would give me almost perfectly what I needed for the length of my foot. However, I knit these cuff down, and I noticed that when I got to the last row, I probably should have done 4 row stripes instead of 6 row stripes, because it meant that my toe is teeny weeny. It actually looks comically small, like it's a tiny little wedge toe at the end. So the toe actually starts in this sort of bright orange colour and then finishes in the contrast colour. So the contrast colour I chose was from Olivia and Oliver Fibres. It is the Baby Shark colourway that came in the Baby Shark sock set as part of Sock Week, I think last year, if not the year before. And I was just obsessed with it, and I had loads left after making my Baby Shark sock set as part of Sock Week. So I managed to get the cuff, the heel flap and heel turn, and then the toe on both socks done. I would list what all of these are, but I do have it written down somewhere, but I don't know exactly what all of them are, and it would take me a long time to work it out. So if there is a particular colour in these socks that you're interested in knowing the name of, then please leave a comment below and I will tell you what it is. So this is obviously 1, and then that's 12, so just tell me what number you're looking for and I'll happily share that with you, but I'm not going to list them all now. I think they're beautiful. I really love this top one here, which I think is called Sea Witch, and I love this third colour here as well. But I just think they're stunning. So I finished these off. I just did a vanilla sock and I inserted some stripes into it. I did a heel flap and gusset, and then I did an anatomical toe. In the comments of my last episode, I actually heard from someone who has knit anatomical toes who told me something I wanted to share with you. So I raved about them last time, but obviously I've only been wearing my anatomical toe socks over the Christmas period. And what they quite rightly pointed out is that if you knit socks this way, then the wear points on the toes are going to be in the same place all the time. So when you knit 2 identical socks, you can obviously wear them on either feet, so the sort of wear and tear on the sock on the toe is in a different place depending on which foot you have it on, whereas it'll be in the same place every time with these. Now, as you can see, these are still on the sock blockers. I have never worn them yet, and I'm going to soon now that I've shown you them. But I will report back on how I get on with this anatomical toe in terms of wear, and if I think that the toe is wearing out really quickly, I'll let you know. Because obviously that's a big thing when I was raving about it and I hadn't actually worn it. So thank you for, I can't remember your name and I apologise, but thank you for pointing that out, and I will make sure to report back if I have any issues with these. But that is my second FO. And I really love them, and I'm really pleased that I got them done in January, because it was just typical that I was like, oh, I want to do a sock every month, and then 20 days basically go by in January and I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. But I managed to knit these and they're done and I'm happy with them. So that is finished object number 2. And then finished object number 3 is another one that you've not seen, and it has a little bit of a story behind it. So I am friends with a lot of people from different sort of areas of the UK, because when I was growing up I sailed, and a lot of the competitions are down south in England or in Wales. So I have quite a few friends that live across the country, and one of these friends lives in Wales, and he travels the world all the time. He's just back from a massive tour of South America, and he's going away again in March, and we were catching up about unrelated things. And he let me know that in March he is going to be climbing to Mount Everest base camp. And all of a sudden I thought to myself, how awesome would it be if one of my knitted items went to Mount Everest Base Camp? How cool would it be to have a photo of something that I've made up Mount Everest, essentially? And as much as I would be confident enough that if I set my mind to doing that, I could achieve that goal. That's not a goal that I really have for my life. It's not something that I really want to do. So it's not something that I myself can achieve. So I thought, perfect opportunity. I'm going to ask him if there's anything he needs, or if I could make him something that he could take with him. So originally I had an idea to knit like a small animal or something like that he could put in his bag and then just take a picture of it on Everest for me. But then I thought, if you're climbing Mount Everest, then I'm pretty sure that you are gonna struggle like with space in your bag. So I don't really want to give him something that he can't use. So then I came up with the idea, and together we discussed this together, of a hat. What a perfect thing to knit to someone to take up Mount Everest. So after this conversation, I came up to my craft room and I was staring at my yarn and I thought, right, I don't really want to buy anything for this project. I want to use some stuff that I've got because I've got some gorgeous colours in stash, and this might be a perfect way to knit something that maybe I wouldn't wear myself. So I found 2 skeins of Zakami yarn. So I received an Oh No Oh Yes box from Zakami last year, which is kind of like an oopsies box that they were selling. And in the notes section I said, I love blue colours, so anything blue will do. And I received 4 skeins of blue variegated yarn, and I loved them all. But I didn't really know what I wanted to knit with them. So they've sat up in my stash. I can still see, or maybe it was 3 skeins. It was 3 skeins. I can still see the other one sitting up there. And when he asked me about this, I thought, what a perfect way to use them. So he sent me a picture of his hiking jacket, classic, and he has a blue hiking jacket, so I thought, perfect time to use this. And I found 2 skeins. One was 100% merino, and the other was Surrey silk. And originally I just pulled out the merino and I thought I can knit him a Musselburgh hat. But in the last episode I spoke about my Musselburgh hat I made for my boyfriend, and it took me months to do because it's fingering weight yarn and it's a really small gauge. So I thought, why don't I pair the merino with the Surrey silk that I have that's also variegated, because then it will be thicker, I can use bigger needles, and it'll take me less time. And it definitely did. So I knit this Musselburgh hat in 12 days. It was on 3.5mm needles, so 3 needle sizes bigger than I was doing for my other ones, and it absolutely flew. Now, I know it flew because I knew I had a deadline for this. He goes in March, so I wanted to get this done and then get it posted to him because he lives in Wales. So I really did push through with this, but it is absolutely stunning. Now, this hat, as I was knitting it, as soon as I finished the crown, I was like, I'm obsessed with this. I love the colour, I love the way the variegated Surrey looks with the variegated yarn, and I just think it's absolutely stunning. It is glorious. I think it's the perfect sort of hiking hat, and it is so soft and sort of thick, which is perfect, like what you need for climbing Mount Everest. Now, I had one 50-gram skein, was it 50 gram? Yeah, one 50-gram skein of the Surrey, which was 300 meters, so I didn't quite have enough for what I wanted to do. And I actually knit this hat. He has a giant head, so I knit the adult size large, and I ran out of Surrey silk with 2 rows to go. So all I did was knit until half of my Surrey silk ball, so it was 5 grams for the, let me start that again. How I did this is I knit my hat based on the weight of yarn I had. So I knew I had enough merino, so I wasn't worried about that. So I based it completely off of how much Surrey I had. So after the crown, I weighed it and I used 5 grams of Surrey. So I knew I needed 5 grams of Surrey left to do the other reverse crown. Because for those who don't know, the Musselburgh is knit in a big tube. So I knew that I needed 5 grams. So that left me with something like 49 because I had 54 grams to start with. So all I did was knit until I had exactly half of that, and then I put a little marker in and I knew that that was my halfway. Now that halfway was 2 inches short of what the pattern deemed to be halfway. So at that point I started thinking, okay, so I have 2 options here. I can continue knitting to the actual like pattern length that the pattern wants, or and run out of suri, which I don't really think would be a problem because it's a double layered hat. It would have just been the inside and the very tip of the crown that wouldn't have had suri, and I think that would have been fine for for how fluffy this is anyway. Or I can stop and just like have it go alongside the suri, and just try and match the suri. At the halfway point, I messaged my friend and I said, can you please measure a hat that you love from the crown to the bottom, and then also how deep the brim is. And perfectly for me, the size hat that he loves was 2 inches shorter than the pattern recommended, so it was exactly what I was looking for. And I ended up, like I say, having run out of suri for the last 2 rows, which is essentially just the closing of the circle at the top. So that's the right side. If I flip it to the inside, you can see it you can see where it runs out of suri just for that inside circle. But I honestly don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think he'll even notice it because he's not a crafter himself. He's just really grateful for the hat. So I'm gutted, if I'm honest, that I have to get rid of this. I think it's absolutely glorious. Let me put it on. Oh, it's so soft and cozy. And all it has taught me is that when I go to the Woolly Good Gathering, which is in April, I'm going to be looking out for hand-dyed variegated suri yarn, because this is amazing. And if I can sort of take a picture of my yarn stash with me and find one that will work really well with a yarn that I've got, I will be making myself one of these because this is so soft. Like I said in the beginning, I knit this in 12 days. I was determined to get this done, alongside the fact that I've had a lot of busy work times where I've been staying in hotels by myself. I had loads of time where I was watching TV just to knit. And this is perfect because 99% of it is just stockinette. And it's also been in the UK, the Six Nations. So I've been watching the Six Nations rugby matches, and again, stockinette is the easiest thing to do while you're watching. So I rattled through this and I'm obsessed with it. It's not yet blocked, and it needs blocked because when I was knitting it up, quite a lot of the blue dye, some of the blue dye came off of my hands, which wasn't a problem because I just washed them with regular hand soap and it went away. But yeah, I need to block this because I have visions of him climbing Mount Everest and getting all sweaty and then having a blue forehead. So I will block this and make sure it's all dry before I send it to him. But I am obsessed with this hat and I can see myself making more like this. I'll insert this picture as well because I popped it on my boyfriend so that I could see it on a guy's head essentially to check that it worked, and he himself was like, this is sick and I'm gonna need one like that too. So I think I'll be making muscle bras for a long time to come. But it's absolutely stunning, and it's in Zakami, one-of-a-kind suri and one-of-a-kind merino, so it's not easy to replicate, but by gosh is it gorgeous, and a true one-of-a-kind piece. And that is my last finished object. 3 finished objects for this month, and all 3 of them you didn't see in the last episode. My whips for this month, I'm going to update you on my older whips before I show you the new things that I've casted on since we last spoke, and I think it'll be fairly quick to rattle through these because you've seen them quite a few times and I don't want to bore you. Had to stop for a second there because someone started using power tools outside of my house. I'm cutting down something, I don't know what they're doing, but if you can hear it in the background if they start again, I really apologise. I'll try and do what I can in editing to get rid of it. But if I don't film now, I will run out of sunlight, so we're just gonna have to roll with it. Okie dokie, so my first whip is something that I'm going to just quickly show you because you've seen it before, and it's my only sewing whip this week. So I showed you last time my glorious pink jumpsuit. This jumpsuit is a Vogue pattern, V1719 I believe, and last time I showed you it I didn't have any sleeves and I just put the body and the collar together. And it now is completed at the top, all sewn in and let me just fold it nicer, and sewn up, and it has sleeves! I will insert a clip of me wearing this again because you're not going to be able to see it just now. But it is a collared jumpsuit that is absolutely glorious. It's bright pink, it's perfect for dopamine dressing. The actual pattern itself was really quite straightforward to follow. The hardest thing I struggled with was getting this zipper to sit properly so that the top's lined up, the waist seam lined up, all that sort of stuff. That's what I really struggled with, and it took me 3 or 4 attempts, but I did it and I'm really pleased with myself. The reason this is not an FO is twofold. The only thing left to do is hem the trousers, and they're way too long, so I'm not comfortable to just hem them slightly and then rock around in it. So I need to put this on and then get my partner to essentially pin up the legs for me, and I've just not had a time where we're both in a position to do that. He's been tired, or I've been tired, or I haven't been bothered to ask, to be honest, so we haven't done it. So other than needing hemmed, the actual jumpsuit itself is complete. This jumpsuit comes with boob pockets, as I call them, and you could replicate these pockets on the legs, but I swapped it out for sort of set-in pockets because that's what I prefer. It is full length, if I hold it at the waist, full length wide leg trouser, and like I said, I will put this on and take a video for you after so you can actually see it. So the first fold of my why it's not in the finished object pile is because I need to hem it. And the second is that I have been trying to find a belt to wear with it. Now, you make your own belt with the same fabric, so the belt will actually be in this pink fabric, but I needed a belt buckle, and the person that inspired this was Annie from the Great British Sewing Bee, and I can never remember what her handle is. I'll pop it on the screen if I can, and she used a vintage belt buckle. So I went to a couple of secondhand shops or charity shops, and I couldn't find anything that would work for me. I checked on Vinted to see if I could just buy like a £1 belt off of there just to steal the buckle from, and I couldn't find anything. So I reached out to my mum, and my mum had a couple of options, and this was my favourite one, and she only managed to deliver it to me yesterday, so that's why this hasn't been done either. And it's jazzy. It is this jazzy belt buckle with the little diamante thingies on it. Now, is this something I traditionally would wear? No. Is it something I would wear with jeans? Also probably no. But it kind of fits the vibe of the jumpsuit. When I tried on the jumpsuit for the first time and showed my partner, he was like, "Oh, nice." And then he laughed and he said, "Are you painting something?" And I know he was just joking, but ever since he said that, I just keep thinking it does kind of look like I'm going to paint something. So this little belt buckle thing might make it a little bit more jazzy. Now, we're going to try this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I'll buy something else. But I thought if I can try get a secondhand one from my mum, that's better for the planet than buying one. So yeah, this is the belt buckle. And then I purchased last time, they're over there, I'm not going to get them, little eyelets that will sit in the fabric of the pink that then this stud will push into. So I mean, I can show you on this belt, but I think you know what I mean anyway. All that happens is it like pushes through the belt and then the stud sticks out at the back. So I'm going to try it, I'll see how it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something else, but that is my intended belt and I just need to make this up, and I just haven't prioritised getting it done, if I'm honest. I'm also quite glad that my mum gave me this belt because it is literally falling apart. So I feel really good knowing that she's not using this ever again. So taking the hardware off of it I don't feel bad that I'm ruining a belt that could be used for other things. So yeah, this will be going on my jumpsuit, and then we will have a completed jumpsuit. I think I said last time, oh, I hope to be wearing this in the next episode, and I thought to myself last night, I could have sat down and rushed to finish it, but then I would have just been rushing to finish it for the purpose of this video. And I was actually watching last night while I was knitting, I was watching Jonathan Day's most recent podcast episode, and he sort of hinted to something that I also have found recently, and that is that I feel almost pressured to finish things just for the podcast. So with a lot of my whips, I could have really pushed. Last night I seemed to all of a sudden go, oh, you want to film tomorrow, you need to finish this, this, this and this. And I went to rush and finish a bunch of stuff, but actually it just hasn't happened for me. I've been really busy, I've not had time to sit down at my sewing machine to get that done, and I know that actually I could probably have that jumpsuit finished in an hour, but I've just not had any time. And I don't want this to turn into some sort of unrealistic endeavour for me. All I wanted with this podcast was a space to share what I've been working on and how I'm getting on with things. And I don't want it to become something that I feel pressure to finish things for. So apologies if some of you get a little bit bored about seeing some things multiple times, but that's just the reality of where I am month to month finishing things. So that is enough on that jumpsuit. This sort of carries on to the two other whips that I have bringing forward from last month, and that is my parents' zipper sweaters. I last time had finished my dad's one. I showed you it. I finished the body and everything else. It needed its zipper facing knit and then sewn down, and then it needed a zipper added. So last night I did decide to sit down and knit the facing. So I finished the facing for his zipper and I also sewed it in, and then I decided to block it. I was going to put the zipper in so that I had it to show you today, but when I was looking at the Petite Knit video and then also Rebecca Clow's video for her Lanark sweater, one of the things, the very first thing she says is that you need to have a washed and blocked sweater. So I decided I'm not going to rush it because I've spent so long making this for my dad. It would be a pain in the bum if I had sewn in the zipper just for this podcast, and then when I blocked it, it looked terrible. So it is blocking. Here's a video of it blocking in the state it was in this morning. And I'm really pleased with it. I think it looks awesome. And I've got the zipper all ready to go in once that is dry. That is them just started working again. Again, I apologise if you can hear that. They're working on someone's garden, I presume. And then the other, so that's my dad's. It's blocking, it's drying. Once it's blocked, I will put the zipper in and sew in the edges, sew in all the loose ends, and his will be done. My mum's, on the other hand, is a bit more of a kerfuffle. And I only say that because I have lost all motivation to work on this. And I think it's because my dad's one I started well in advance of Christmas. I started it in October, maybe even earlier than that actually, and it was finished ages before Christmas, so it was in a position that I was happy to give it to him, to show him what I wanted to, or how I was going to gift him something. My mum's, I started much later than that, and I rushed it, and I think I just wore myself out of it, to be honest. In the last episode I had 2 sleeves to do, and I have officially finished those sleeves. They do actually currently have waste yarn in them. I don't really know why I did that, but I did. I just need to take it out, I just haven't yet. But this is one of the sleeves that I knit, and then this is the other. Now, a couple things I have to say about this. One, doing colour work on a small circumference, pain in the butt. If you've never done it before, steer clear. It's absolutely mental. I have done stranded colour work on a sleeve before on DPNs, and honestly I found it so much easier than on the small circumference, and I'm a small circumference girly, but yeah, this was so tough. Keeping your tension, like you can see on this sleeve particularly, that like in between my sheep is just so ruffled. You can see it on this side as well, because keeping that tension was so hard, but I'm convinced that it'll block out, and if it doesn't block out fully, it should block out quite substantially. So I'm not too worried about it, and my mum's tried this on with its sleeves and she loves it, and that's all that really matters. So, but because I found the sheep so difficult to do and to keep tension and everything else, I knit them both and I was like, I don't want to look at this for a while. So it's been sitting in the naughty corner, if I'm completely honest, and I've not wanted to touch it. And even last night when I knit my dad's facing, I thought, you know what, you should just jump on and knit your mum's facing as well and block hers, and then that'll be at the stage of getting a zipper. But again, not quite ready to do that yet. My dad's one has been sitting for months, and I've only just decided to do it. So I've got a wee while before I'll really push myself, I think, to knit this facing. Another thing that is putting me off this one is I haven't been able to find a zipper for it. So my dad's one is a burgundy colour, as you will have seen in the video, and I bought the Petite Knit zipper for his that matches perfectly, and I think it'll be super easy. One of the things, or the pieces of advice I've got from people who have knit these before, is that having a matching zipper to the colour of your jumper makes the zipper sewing in so much easier, because if it is slightly off, you can't really see because it's all one colour. And this colour, unfortunately, is not a colour that Petite Knit stocks on their website for their zipper. There is a zipper, so the Petite Knit zippers I'm pretty sure are called YKK zippers, and she just brands them up as Petite Knit and gives you a little label with them. And Hobby sell the YKK zippers, and they sell one in marine blue, which I think would work really well for this. But the zipper itself is £7, which is fine, I'm happy to pay that, but the shipping from Hobby is £6.99, and I just can't, I haven't been able to convince myself yet that I want to spend almost as much on shipping as I do on the actual zipper, and I haven't been able to find it at any other shop. Retail Hobby do it, I believe, but their shipping is again £5.99, so I've been trying to wait until I decide I need something else from one of those shops so that at least I'm sort of spreading the shipping across multiple things, not just the zipper. So there's multiple reasons why this has been in the naughty corner, but I filmed and posted 4 weeks ago, and if in 4 weeks I've got these 2 sleeves done, then I'm pretty pleased with that. I was shocked, if I'm honest, last night when I went on my last episode and noticed that it was sleeveless in the last episode, because I felt like I'd shown you these sleeves, and to me it felt like it'd been in the naughty corner for months, but it literally has been less than a month and I've knit 2 sleeves on it, so I really need to just give myself a talking to and say get over it, Jo, and that's actually a really realistic time frame for getting this done. So yeah, my mum's zipper sweater now has 2 sleeves. It is waiting for a zipper, and it's waiting for a zipper facing. My dad's one is being blocked, and that is all of my whips that you have seen previously. Now, I know that doesn't seem like much change, but bearing in mind I have sewn, no, the jumpsuit was in the last episode. Bearing in mind I have knit an entire Musselburgh hat and knit an entire pair of scrappy socks. Like, you can see where my knitting time has gone, other than on my languishing whips. Okay, now we're on to the things I've been working on more recently. So I cast off the Musselburgh 2 nights ago, I think. So I've been, up until 2 nights ago, I was working on that a lot. But there is 2 other projects that I have been carting around with me on my recent adventures, and you haven't seen these at all. So I'm just thinking, I haven't actually shared with you what yarn I've been using. I shared it for the Musselburgh, I shared it for the scrappy socks, but for my mum's zipper sweater I'm using Drops Merino Extra Fine in a variety of colours, and then for the sheep's body I'm also using the alpaca boot clay to make them fluffy, and then for my dad's zipper sweater I'm using the Drops Nepal in the colour Bordeaux. Just before I forgot to share that with you. Okay, my next whip, my one that I've been working on or trying to work on sort of every evening, is my Daft Days cardigan by the Creabea. After the last podcast, like I said, I was really inspired to try and use some of the advents that I had, and I knew that I wanted to use my 2022 advent, the Nervous Fibres Sadvent, for my Daft Days. So I decided perfect way to get it out of stash was just to cast it on. So I have started. So this is it's a bottom up cardigan. So this is the bottom of my cardigan. I'm just going to fold it in half so it's easy for you to see. And like I say, the contrast colours are the Nervous Fibre Sadvent, which is actually what Rebecca Clow used for her sort of sample for her pattern. So this is exactly the same as what you'll see in the pattern photos. I don't know what yarn she used as her main colour, but I am using the Woolly Knit 4-ply Classics 100% super soft merino wool. I'm just looking funny because it's all in the packaging. The packaging itself is plastic, so if I mess around with it too much it makes a horrible noise for you guys, so I'm not going to bother showing you a ball, but that's what it is, the 4-ply Classics 100% super wash merino. And that is what I'm using for my main colour. Now, I was looking at this last night and I've used 8 contrast colours, and when I spoke to Rebecca about her version, she was finishing with honestly like less than a gram of yarn for some of her colours, and I'm knitting the exact same size that she knit for her sample, so I know that it's going to be tight for contrasts already. And I measured this last night and I think my row gauge is off, which is really annoying, and I think I'm shorter than I should be. So this is 18 centimetres so far, and like I say, I've used, 8 contrast colours, and there is only 12 contrast, is there? Yeah, or 16? Can't remember. There's not that many more colours, and I'm a bit worried that it's shorter than it should be, because if I'm working this bottom up, like, and that's sitting, you can't see that, and that's sitting like on my hip. I've still got quite a substantial like distance to go before I would do sleeve shaping, unless I make it cropped. So I'm a little bit worried about this. I also spoke to my friend on Instagram, Ruth. Hi Ruth, if you're watching. And she's knitting this as well, and she's done 4 rows and she's already at 11, like 4 contrast rows, and she's already at 11 centimetres. So I am a bit worried that my row gauge is off. I did do the classic knitters sort of, if I pull it, does it get any bigger? And it did. It got 2 centimetres bigger. And then I was speaking to Ruth about it and I was saying I'm really worried because I'm not really worried about the fitting because I think it'll block, but I am worried about the running out of yarn situation, because the way Rebecca's pattern works is she gives you a distance in centimetres rather than like work 4 contrast rows. So if I work until that distance, then I'm going to run out of contrast yarn because I'm going to have more repetitions of the stripes than Rebecca has in her sample. So Ruth very sensibly said, Jo, why don't you just block what you've got so far and see how much it grows, and then you'll know how much it's going to grow when you block it, and you should be able to work out, you should then be able to work out like how many rows to do before you split for shaping. And I thought, you know what, Ruth, that's an incredibly sensible idea, and why didn't I think of that? So that's what I've decided to do. I haven't wound up my next 2 minis. They are in here. So I've got these 2, these are my next 2 colours, the blue and then the purple. And obviously I've not wound them into their little balls yet because I'm waiting until I block this. Now I only decided last night that I'm going to block this, so it's not blocked yet, but I will block it either today or tomorrow to see how much it grows. But it is looking stunning. I'm really obsessed with it. The pattern, like the stitch pattern itself, is quite simple. It's like easy to memorise, but it's just purling on loads and loads of stitches, which I don't like doing. So it's working up. I can do about one sort of block of this, a 4-row repeat. I can do one 4-row repeat in about 40 minutes. And the only reason I know that is because I'm watching Merlin at the moment on Disney Plus, and an episode of Merlin's about 40 minutes, and I often get a whole section done in one episode. So it takes about 40 minutes to do a row. So I'm trying to do one an evening if I can, to try and get some progress on this and it doesn't just sit for months and months. So this is my daft days. Like I say, last time I spoke about this, but it wasn't cast on yet, so I've made quite substantial progress since in this month with everything else going on. But I just think it looks absolutely gorgeous and I'm really proud of it. Although I'm not looking forward to weaving in all of these. The white isn't so bad because I'm able to carry that as I go, but obviously you can't carry the colours and so many ends to think about. But we will get there and deal with that once we get to it. And I'm going to need to add in some more main colour balls because this is all I've got left after that last stripe. So that is my daft days. Apologies while I crinkle this plastic. Which is my first new whip to show you. And then my last whip and my other new whip is my February socks. So like I said, trying to do 1 pair of socks a month. And January was my scrappy socks. February, I was really inspired by Valentine's Day, which funnily enough is tomorrow as I'm filming this. Today is the 13th of February. And I had this yarn, I think I mentioned it in my last episode as well. This is the Beehive Yarns Audrey sock in their patisserie colourway. It was the main colour that came with my advent for this year, and it was a sock set, so it came with this glorious mini, this bright red, it's like a bright reddy pink mini, and then it came with the patisserie colour itself, which is this light pink with the same red speckled throughout and some gold bits as well. And I decided to tick off one of my Make 9. So I listed my Make 9 on Instagram. I don't think I've ever spoken about it here. And I honestly, do I have notes from it? I don't know if I even have notes somewhere that tell me. Oh yeah, I do, so I can go through them. I'll go through that after. But anyway, one of my Make 9 was the Hermione sock set pattern. No, that doesn't make any sense. One of my Make 9 was the Hermione socks, and I think they're called Hermione Everyday Socks. and I apologise, I don't remember the name of the designer, so I'll pop it on the screen. And I've seen it a couple times and just thought it looked beautiful, and I decided to use that pattern to make my February socks. So this is how far we have gotten. Like I say, today's the 13th of February and this is sock 1, so I've got about half the month left to do the rest of this sock and the second sock. This is the Hermione sort of pattern. It's just a really simple 4-row repeat pattern, which I think just looks really, really pretty, if I'm honest, in this lightly speckled yarn. I decided to do a pop of colour at the top, so I just did 2 rows of the pop of colour, then a 20 row cuff, and then I've just done, I think, 60 rows on the leg, I think. And then I just followed the heel that was in the pattern, which looks like this. And then obviously heel flap and gusset, and then I'm working on the foot now. I'm really enjoying it. The Hermione pattern is a free pattern, so I'm really loving that aspect of it. And like I say, the 4-row repeat is really easy to remember and also super easy to read your knitting. So I don't know where I am on the 4-row repeat just now, but I know that when I pick this up later, I'll know exactly what row I need to, like, what to do in that row. And then all I'll do is reference the 4-row repeat towards the end of the foot to make sure I finish on a 4th row essentially. But I'm loving it. I think it's really beautiful. My heel isn't the neatest because this was a new heel construction to me. It's got, at each side of the heel flap, it's got this like pearl section, which to be honest, I'm not that jazzed about. I didn't love it, but I wanted to be true to the pattern and do it this way. I think next time I would sub out for just a normal heel flap and gusset. Or a slip stitch heel flap, but we'll see how it goes. It does feel really thick and squishy, so I think it might be really good for a heel, like in terms of wear, but again, we'll just see how we get on. But I'm loving this. I love this yarn. I'm enjoying the pattern. It's super simple and it just looks really beautiful. So I'm really happy that in February I will have ticked off one of my Make 9. And also I just think they're really beautiful Valentine's Day socks. I said in the last episode that Angus and I don't really like subscribe to the hype of Valentine's Day, like we're not doing anything. I think we have bought steaks in our weekly shop to have a nice steak dinner tomorrow night, but that's kind of it. And then I'm using it as an opportunity to knit with some pink yarn. But we don't really do anything else, so it was nice to feel a little bit in the mood for Valentine's Day by knitting with some lovely pink yarn. So that is my last whip, which leaves us with one plan that I'm going to be doing in the next month. I'm going to talk a little bit, I don't know. I can't decide if I'm going to talk about my Make 9, so maybe we will, maybe we won't. And then in a shocking turn of events, we don't have any acquisitions today, which I'll speak about in a couple minutes. So I'm going to go get a drink, check my dog's okay, and decide if I'm going to talk about this Make 9. And then we will be right back. So I've decided that I am not going to read out my Make 9 because I don't think that'd be very interesting, and I don't have any of the yarn with me for the things I want to make and things like that. So I've decided not to talk through my Make 9, but I did just want to let you know that as I film the podcast throughout the year, I'm going to let you know when I have knit or when I'm working on one of my Make 9. So today we were actually working on 2, my first one being my Daft Days cardigan, that's on my Make 9 list, and the second being the Hermione socks, they are also on my Make 9 list. So in February we are tackling 2, or starting to tackle 2 of the Make 9, which is fab, and I'm really pleased with that. And throughout the year, as we start picking up other things that are on that list, I will let you know, but I'm not going to list them today. If that is something that you're interested in seeing just now, I have saved all the stories in which I explain my Make 9 on a highlight on my Instagram. My Instagram is at designs.madebyjo. Feel free to go over there and have a look, and you'll see it just above where it shows you the grid of all the things I've posted, a little circle, and it'll say Make 9 2024. So feel free to have a look over there if you're interested in what else is on my Make 9 list. But for today, I'm just going to show you one of my sort of projects I'm going to be working on in the next month or so. Alongside the muscle bra that I'm making for my friend that is climbing Everest, one of the things that he was recommended to take with him was a pair of cozy socks for sleeping in. Now, when he first said cozy socks, I thought to myself, I am not making you a pair of socks that'll take me a long time for you to hike in hiking boots that'll get destroyed. But when he said they were for sleeping, I thought, that's something I can get behind. But what I did think was, if I was to knit a pair of fingering weight socks, I would probably take ages to do it, and I didn't really feel like I wanted to at the time, with all the other things I had going on. So I thought, why not use this as the perfect opportunity to guinea pig some DK weight or sport weight socks. I spoke to him about what size feet he has, and I'm a size UK 6 and he is a size UK 7, so only slightly bigger feet than me, which made me feel a lot better because Angus has a size 10.5 feet and knitting him socks takes forever, and I never want to do it because it takes so long. So when he said he'd only had one size bigger than me, I thought I could probably tackle that before you're going away. So the same day I picked out the yarn for the muscle bra, I picked out the yarn for his socks, and this was just something that I had in stash, and it's massive. So this is what we are going with. It is the Schoppel Zauberball, and this is called Stark 6. Now, I butchered that, so I'm just going to show you it. And this is their sort of sport weight Zauberball. Now, I have a crazy Zauberball over there. It's in a pinky purple colour, and that's your traditional fingering weight, whereas this is their sport weight yarn. And it's in this glorious orange variegated colourway. It goes into pinks and some browns and some yellows, and it's got a little bit of purple in there too. And I just thought this was a really cool yarn to make a pair of socks out of. It is, you get 150 grams. This is the colour Orangery, yep. And it is 75% strong quality superwash wool and 25% polyamide. And I just thought, great option to knit my pair of socks. Like I said at the beginning, I've never knit a pair of DK weight or sport weight socks, so I'm a little bit apprehensive to do so. So I have been looking for patterns that work well with this yarn. The easiest thing to do that was to go on Ravelry, type in this yarn and see what people have made. And some people have made just a regular sock pattern, some people have made a DK weight sock pattern, some people have made sport weight sock patterns, and I just felt a bit lost as to what to try. So I decided that when you're knitting for someone who you don't have in order to try it on, ribbing is probably a good idea, because if they're slightly too big, then the ribbing will shrink to their foot. So I'm gonna do a ribbed sock. And then this is technically a sport weight. I've had a look on loads of websites, and this is a sport weight yarn. So I just searched on Ravelry and found a pattern that was for sport weight ribbed socks, and I can't remember the name of it, but I will put it on the screen, and that is what I'm going to try. I was tempted to cast this on a few times in the last sort of 3 weeks, but I wanted to get the muscle bra done, because for me, if the muscle bra, which is now done, I can post that to him, and if I don't get the socks done, I don't get the socks done. And because I'm doing a ribbed sock, they'll fit me. They'll probably fit me. So if I don't get these done, I'm not going to be too fussy about it. But I am really keen to cast them on now that the muscle bra is off the needles. But if you have any recommendations for a sport weight sock pattern that's ribbed, please let me know, because I would love some that's actually recommended by a friend, essentially, that's worked well, because I'm going to be guessing with both the stitch count and also the foot length. So it's already a bit of a risk, but I want to give it a go, and I think this is the perfect yarn to try it with because it looks gorgeous. The other benefit of the fact that they're sleeping socks is that if they are a bit too big, the ribbing will help, but also they're just for sleeping in. So actually you don't really want super tight socks for sleeping in. You want something cozy. You don't want them obviously gaping off your foot, but you don't want them too tight anyway and too restrictive. So I think it's all going to be fine, considering I'm guessing. I've asked this poor man to measure his head and hats and all sorts, so I might also ask him to measure the circumference of his foot so I can give that, try and get the right stitch count for him. And then yeah, I'm just going to be using sort of standard UK shoe measurements to try and work out what length the foot is going to be. So it's going to be a bit of a guesswork, but if they fit me or if they're slightly too big for me, I think they'll be alright for him. So that is my next upcoming project. Like I said, he goes away on March 10th. I think I said March before, but the provisional date he's given me is March 10th. So realistically, to get it posted to Wales, I want to be finished probably March 5th, which is less than a month, 25-ish days away from today. So I really do want to get them cast on. But like I say, I kind of want to be done, or I kind of think now I want to be done the first sock of my Valentine's Day socks before I try those, because I do still want to be achieving my finished pair of Valentine's Day socks, even though I'll then be knitting too. Although I have been assured that DK weight and sport weight socks go much quicker than fingering weight socks, so fingers crossed. And that's everything. If I'm now sitting with an empty bed next to me that's not got anything on it, so we are done for today. In terms of acquisitions, I was hoping to have some yarn here to show you. I have taken up a couple of clubs, yarn clubs this year, most notably one from Wildflower Yarn. She is doing a Myths and Magic yarn club, and I love myths. I've been reading all about the Greek gods and things like that, but I also love Harry Potter and magical fantasy things. Like I said, I'm watching Merlin, so it just seemed the perfect club for me to join, and I decided to just do the full 12 months. The lovely Dara behind Wildflower Yarns has had some issues and some personal things going on, so the January club hasn't arrived with me yet, but I'm not in any rush for it. And the February one should be arriving fairly soon as well. And I will show you them as and when they arrive with me. I have also purchased a yarn from, I want to say, Nicole Mendez, who does gorgeous self-striping yarns, and she was doing an Easter mystery sock set, so I purchased that, so that should be on its way. I purchased that a wee while ago, and I thought there was another club, but I can't remember it. I was considering doing the Hedgehog Fibres club, but they didn't have the sock base that I wanted. It was advertised that they would, and then they didn't, so I was a little bit like, oh, I stayed up till 11 o'clock to buy this and it's not even on the website. But now the club's closed, and to be honest, I've saved some money by not registering myself for a 3-month club. I did, however, buy something when I was on the website, so I'm waiting for that yarn to come in as well. So we've got lots of acquisitions that are due to be on their way. I just don't have them here today. And then I guess the biggest acquisition that I bought myself, which kind of impacts you but kind of doesn't, is I recently decided to buy myself a buy myself a new refurbished iPhone. So I film on my phone, I'm looking at my phone just now, and I love my phone. It doesn't have any issues with it, but it has a really small storage capacity, and every single time I film, I have to film in chunks and then send the video to my iPad so that I can keep filming and the phone doesn't just cut off, which it's done several times, because over my last few episodes I have been filming a chunk and then it's just cut off on me and I've not known, and then I've continued to talk to the camera for sometimes like 15 minutes and it's not recorded any of it. So I finally decided to treat myself. I'm all about sustainability where I can be, so a refurbished iPhone is a really good way to go about it, because you are making sure that that doesn't go to landfill. And I am also trading in my phone that I'm currently using, so that someone else might be able to buy my refurbished phone in the future. So I literally ordered that this morning, which is really exciting because I never really treat myself. I've had my iPhone for 6 years, which doesn't, like, to me, I sit here and I say, oh, 6 years is hardly any time, but obviously in iPhone land that's a lot. I have the iPhone 11 and they're now on the iPhone 15, which is crazy, but I've had a lot of use out of it. It's a perfectly functioning phone and now someone else might be able to use it in the future. So this is the last episode I will be filming on this phone, so maybe next time there'll be a difference in sound quality or video quality. I don't know, we'll see once it gets here, but hopefully I might actually be able to film a whole episode without having to pause every 20 minutes or so. So we'll see how I get on. But that is a big acquisition for me, which I'm really excited about. If you can't tell, I just literally did it before I started filming, so I'm over the moon and really excited about it. And it does impact you guys because it's gonna impact the video quality. So I'm gonna finish up here, I think. I think I've covered everything that I need to. I've been having some thoughts about some of my languishing whips and what I want to do with them in the future, but I haven't come to any solid conclusions yet. So I think what I'll do is update you as and when I do actually do something. So if I frogged something between now and the next episode, I'll tell you and tell you what I want to do with that yarn. Hopefully next time we will have a zipper in my dad's zipper sweater, and that will be in the FO pile, and it would be lovely if I could wear my jumpsuit and maybe have my mum's done as well if I can get myself to spend £7 on shipping. And then yeah, we'll see how much progress we've made on my other whips. I am really looking forward to it. I feel like I had a bit of a wobbly end to last year. I had some mental health things that I was working on last year, and then my first episode in January I was excited to film, but I was still sort of in the very thick of healing, whereas I feel like I am on the up from here. I'm feeling very enthusiastic again. I'm feeling really into a lot of my projects again. I really want to cast on a lot of new things, but I think that's just always the case. So we'll just see how I get on moving forward. But I hope that 2024 is serving you well. I hope you are, it is doing whatever you need it to, whether that's allow you time to rest or heal or thrive, whatever it is that you're hoping for. I hope 2024 is giving that to you so far. If not, for me, today's pancake day. Go and eat your pancakes, enjoy yourself. I don't know if I'll get this up today or tomorrow, but happy Pancake Day if I get it up today, happy Valentine's Day if I get it up tomorrow. I hope that you're celebrating yourself, giving yourself a lot of love and happiness, and yeah, I am feeling in a much better place, so I know how terrible it can feel when you are in the lowest of the low, and I want you to know that I'm here for you, I support you. I hope your knitting is bringing you joy in that time rather than making you feel guilty or sad in any way. If you're not enjoying knitting, why don't you try something else? Crochet, sewing, that's what I do when I'm not vibing with knitting. I do a lot of sewing. When I'm not vibing with sewing, I'll try some crochet. So maybe try a different craft if you are really struggling with knitting at the moment. But all of that to say, I hope you are doing well. I can't believe, or I hope that some of you have made it to the end, and I am very grateful that you have if you are still here. I wish you the very best. I look forward to seeing you next time, and I will stop waffling now, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.